Bryan, we have to change podcast distributors right away.
Why do we need to do this?
Well, we've been paying our own money out of our own pockets to distribute our podcast. I found a place that does it for free.
Okay, tell me all about this, please.
Dude, it's Anchor. Anchor. Dude, they have creation tools that allow us to record and enter our podcast right from our phone or computer. They'll distribute our podcast for us to all the major podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Best part of it, dude, it's free. And for any other podcasters out there, if you switch to Anchor, you can start making money right away. All you got to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hello, you. Yes, you. The one I'm looking at right now. You like scary movies? Well, if you do, you're in the right place. You've joined the Dead in Santa Carla podcast with Bryan and Andy. Shouldn't that be Undead in Santa Carla? Well, Bryan and Andy are just a couple lost boys, aren't they? Or they will be when I'm through. Enjoy the show while you can.
Dead in Santa Carla, part of the Slash and Cast podcast network. I am Bryan.
And I am Andy. What's going on, Bryan?
Not much, buddy. Welcome back.
Dude, I'm back. Holy hell. What's going on? It's good to be back. Thanks for covering my ass the last week or two here. And shout out to Bailey from We Came From Beneath the Sea for filling in for me last week. Hey, you guys sounds like you guys had fun, man.
Yeah, it was kind of exciting introducing him to that movie. And he's a trooper too, man. Because you know when I messaged that out because you were like, hey, you should probably ask somebody to help, and I did pretty much right after you asked me that. Yeah, and it was basically the day of recording, and so I threw that out there to the guy. It's a lot of everybody, pretty much everybody in the network. And he quickly was just like, dude, I'll do it. I've never seen it before, but I'll watch it right now, and we'll do it. And that's kind of exciting, man. Yeah, he's like, dude, what a fucking trooper, man.
I know, that's funny.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Bailey. And it was great because he enjoyed it so much, too. I mean, he gave it a 4 out of 4.
Yeah, no, he did. He did indeed. But just so you guys know, the fictional the town in Blair Witch Project is in Maryland.
He did totally get me. Because reason he did is because
he broke you down.
Oh, he broke me down quick. Well, he did because when he said Bell Witch, I knew that the Bell Witch was in Kentucky. I knew that mythology was there, and that's why I was like, well, shit, man. I was like, okay, the Bell Witch is, but. And it's funny because I should have even reached further back because, I'm almost double him in age. I actually am double him in age because he just turned 21. And I actually, when I was in the military, I had a buddy that was from Maryland and was telling me about, because he was there on leave. Because he'd been in the military for about 10 years before me, so he'd been in for a while. And he told me that he was on leave while they were there filming a lot of that stuff. So if I would have remembered a buddy of mine telling me about that from the fucking military.
I forget what state you said. You said
I said Massachusetts because I had another M state. New England area.
Another M state.
Yeah.
You got that much.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's like, no, it's Kentucky. The Bell Witch is from Kentucky. You're like, yeah. You know what? You're right. It is Kentucky. I'm like, you motherfuckers. Yeah. While you guys were out there trying to think of the town that Blair Witch Project took place in. I was in the hospital. That's why I was not here last week. That's why I was. Yeah. So crazy shit going on with me.
Dude, yeah. Do you want to elaborate for? Yeah, I mean, because not everybody follows our socials. So.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, I talk about it, but I don't really go into detail like about my health issues. I was diagnosed with a digestive disease a year ago, last August, and I've been battling that, and it's gotten real bad. You know, like the last 8 months or so, it's gotten real bad, and it's gotten real bad these last 3 or 4 months. Well, come to find out, I wasn't just battling a digestive disease, and my my large intestine wasn't the only organ failing on me. Apparently, I have a kidney stone too. The huge kidney stone, 1.8 centimeters. When the doctor first told me that, I'm like, okay, so can we just take it out? I had no idea that this is like a big ass kidney stone. I've never had a kidney stone before. Apparently, you're telling me it's huge. The doctors are telling me it's huge. Is it huge? Can you confirm this, Bryan?
It's bigger. See, I passed one when I was in the military that was 3 millimeters, and yours is literally 6 times the size of that. So, when I passed mine, I felt like I gave birth to a fucking elephant.
Dude. So what's been really difficult the last few months is I didn't know I was suffering from this fucking boulder was grown inside my kidney. I thought I was just dealing with the digestive disease stuff because both symptoms of a kidney stone and my pain symptoms from my digestive disease, they feel so fucking similar, dude. Like it's the same fucking feeling. It's just this ungodly shooting pain in your abdomen, essentially. It's the same fucking thing. So like I had no clue. So essentially what happened was Friday, it was on a Friday. It was a Friday before, so a week and a half ago now. I woke up with just intense fucking pains, and I thought it was just, just my digestive disease, and usually it lasts for like a half hour, a couple hours, and it subsides. Well, it'd been going on for like 6 hours, and nothing was subsiding. It was so intense. It was only getting worse. Then that's when I went to the ER, and they checked me in the hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, we got to transfer you to an neurosurgeon. you're staying." So they actually had to transfer me to another hospital where there was an neurosurgeon. I stayed there. I checked in there Friday night. By the time I got there, I didn't get out till Monday morning. So I hadn't stayed in the hospital since I was like for an operation since I was like 5 years old. So I hadn't stayed the night in a hospital in 30 years, man, almost.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've never had a kidney stone, and I hadn't stayed in the hospital in a long time. I'd also had never had morphine before.
Shit.
That cherry got popped.
That's an experience.
Well, it's funny. They gave me the morphine like right away because, dude, when I went in the ER, the sweat was just perspirating from me, from my head. I was drenched in sweat. The pain was so intense. I couldn't even like stand up. I couldn't lay down. No matter what I did, the pain just would not subside. After they ran a couple tests, they ran an EKG and then a X-ray scan of my chest. Once they eliminated, because it worried the doctor that I was sweating so much, because he's like, all right, I got to make sure you don't have any heart problems here, which there weren't. They did the EKG and the chest X-ray, and it was fine. As soon as he eliminated that, he had the morphine ordered immediately once he found out my heart was okay.
Good God.
Holy shit. I was actually in the ER for only maybe 45 minutes tops, and bam, I had morphine running through my veins in an IV, and I was ready to go. And then they shipped me off to the next hospital where I stayed for 3 days. It was interesting. It was something. I missed the recording, sadly. There's no way the internet connection in the hospital it wouldn't have been reliable. I couldn't have recorded it. I had my phone and everything, but it wouldn't have.
We experienced that because you jumped in Discord and we bullshitted for a little bit while you were in there, and we both kept cutting out from each other pretty bad. The signal wasn't that great. So that's where I've been doing. So I'm recovering. So essentially, what they had to do, since this fucker was so big, they couldn't get it out. Jesus Christ.
So like where it's located, it's like way up high in my upper part of my right kidney, and it's so big. So essentially, they had to they did this procedure. I actually finally got the procedure done Sunday morning. They had to they essentially cut me open from like my back, like the side of my back, kind of, and they cut a hole into my body and into my kidney, and they run a tube there that goes to a bag, and essentially I've been draining my kidney for a week. I still have this thing attached to my freaking leg, or this bag velcroed to my leg right now as we talk. Yeah, so like my appointment's tomorrow on Monday when this episode drops. My appointment's tomorrow. My follow-up appointment. Essentially, we're just going to assess like, when can I have this? Because I got to have another procedure to get it removed finally. From what they're telling me, it's going to be anywhere from a 2 to 4 week process, probably a 30-day process. And we're already about a week in. I had the procedure a week ago today. So
okay.
I'll find out more tomorrow when I go to my doctor's appointment. But it sounds to me like I'm gonna have to wear this tube. I say wear; it's literally lodged in my fucking kidney. If you want, it sounds like I'm probably gonna have to have this for probably like another week.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to me. But I'll find out more tomorrow. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Good
that's what
Lord.
happened. That's what happened to me last weekend, guys. Thanks you guys again. Thanks again for Bailey, and thank you for covering for me.
Oh no. We're glad you're on the road to recovery, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it's not fatal. I'm gonna be okay. It just so happens I'm battling two things that two separate things that attack my organ, that attack two separate organs, that being my large intestine for my digestive disease, and then my kidney, which is taking a beating right now. I guess what happened was it was the kidney I was getting blockage, and that's what was causing the crazy intense pain. The actual kidney stone was blocking my kidney from draining.
Oh, holy shit.
So that's pretty much what was happening. Yeah, the pain was something.
Jesus.
The pain was something. I will say this. It was honestly the most intense. But again, it felt just as similar to my symptoms for my digestive disease. The symptoms feel so similar, Brian. It's crazy.
That's crazy, brother.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but hopefully we're on the road to the recovery here, and hopefully I can get healthy here in the near future and feel a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, you're on your way. I mean,
yeah.
It's crazy. You went through all that, and here I am sitting here thinking, oh man, you know what I've been doing? I listened to that Cardi B song, WAP. That's what I did.
Hell yeah, you did.
Have you heard about this song?
Yeah, I've heard there's a little controversy behind it, apparently.
I listened to it like 4 times in a row last night at work.
I haven't heard it yet. I haven't read the lyrics yet. I wanted to hear it before I read the lyrics.
Bro.
But yeah, it's kind of I've heard the gist of what's going on with this song. I heard it's quite interesting.
I kind of love it.
I bet you do.
It's fucking funny.
Yeah, I can't really comment on it because I haven't listened to it, and I've been waiting to listen to it.
Listen to it. We'll listen to it, and then we'll come back to that next episode.
There you go. Perfect.
We'll give a review of WAP by Cardi B.
Perfect.
Cardi B. And I think it's Megan the something. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of like hip hop or rapper.
Sure.
Everybody was talking about this song, so I had to listen. But
I feel you.
Enough
about my health horror. Let's talk about the Amityville horror, shall we?
Fuck yeah, man!
And continue on with Haunted House Month, Haunted Homes Month.
Yeah,
is what
Haunted
we're
Homes.
doing. What we're doing in. That's what we're doing for August. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, this is a good month. And then we'll go ahead and give you guys the homework for next month or next week. I mean, we can do that too because we kind of planned that out. Next week.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Do you know?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me.
Are you sure?
Well, let's see here. I'm going by your notes. According to next week.
You mean the notes that I wrote down from you talking to me? Yeah. If you're referring to those notes, the notes that I literally wrote down from your words. Yeah, those notes.
You know, in my defense, I have none.
Yeah, we know, Brian. I'm well aware of this. For those that don't know, last week when I wasn't here, at the very last second of the episode, Brian's signing off, and he goes, "Oh, and by the way, homework. Fuck. Yeah, we're talking about Amityville Horror. It wasn't supposed to be Amityville Horror, yet, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're talking about Amityville Horror, but." Next week, it was supposed to be this week, but next week we're going to talk about paranormal or no, not paranormal. The Conjuring.
Oh my God! No, now you cannot give me.
I know.
Shit anymore.
I know. The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Yes.
Yeah, the Conjuring from 2012, right? Yeah, 2012.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know if that's streaming anywhere right now. I don't think it is, but you can rent it for like $3 on Prime or wherever rentals are. I know the second one's on HBO right now, but that doesn't really help you.
I need to fucking get that. I every time I look up something and they're like, "Oh, it's streaming on." No,
you still didn't get HBO yet.
I haven't tried my my trial yet. I haven't done the trial yet. So when I know that what'll happen is I'll do the trial and then I'll end up.
Yeah.
So.
HBO's got a shit ton of good movies,
dude. They got a lot of great stuff, man. Hell yeah.
They do. But the first Conjuring's not streaming anywhere that I'm aware of unless it changes anywhere if it changes in the next day or two. But to my knowledge, it's not currently. But you can rent it for a few bucks, and a lot of people own this movie. I'm probably going to buy it. It's $9.99 on Prime to buy with bonus features. I'm probably just going to buy it.
Oh, nice. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. All right, yeah, we talking about the Amityville Horror, guys, and
the original from 1979. Yes,
that's right. So let's go ahead and get into it, buddy.
All right.
It's the kind of house they don't build anymore. A relic of a time when the world wasn't in such a hurry, when there was still time for a little charm and elegance. It has stood empty for a long while. And at the price, it is a bargain. For a growing young family, it is almost too good to be true.
What do you think?
I love it.
James Brolin, Margot Kidder, Rod Steiger in the Amityville Horror.
God's peace in this house.
Hello,
Kathy? Father Delaney, there's something very important.
Mommy, I want to go home.
What do you want from us?
What's all going wrong? We have to do something.
I'm coming apart! Oh, Mother of God, I'm coming apart!
All right, Andy, the Amityville Horror from 1979, starring James Brolin and Lois Lane.
Yeah, the great Margot Kidder, man. I like her.
Love Margot Kidder, man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
She's my Lois Lane, man. Always will be.
She's mine. Yeah, she's mine too.
Yeah, she rocks. I got a lot of respect for her too because of how outspoken she was about her own mental health and stuff like that in her later years. It's pretty cool. I like when people are open about that kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, from 1979, directed by Stuart Rosenberg. He did like he's actually a longtime veteran director. He did a lot of he did like Cool Hand Luke. Like that's kind of how, you know, far back this guy goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was based off a book too.
I never read this book.
I never did either. It's rocking a 6.3 out of a respectable 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, not so respectable. 27% critic scores, 52% audience. So,
are you surprised by that?
Not really, because I'll be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of this movie either.
Okay, we're on the same page.
I'm actually not surprised by. Well, I mean, like, do I think it's 27%? No.
No.
I'm more with the audience where they're at. Like, I don't like I think this movie. Like, I don't dislike this movie. I just have plenty of issues with it, and it really just has to do with the experience of watching the movie. I mean, it's really all. I think this movie's far way too long than it needs to be. This movie.
Oh God, I agree so much with that.
This movie could have benefited from a 15-minute shortened runtime. Big time. It's like 2 hours long. It's like an hour and 57 minutes. What's ironic, I guess the German version was released with like a version that was 13 or 14 minutes less. I find that funny. Yeah, they nailed it. It's probably the German version's the best one. No, like I really like James Brolin in this, and I really like Margot Kidder. But other than those two, they're really the only ones that we really get to know pretty well.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, with the exception of Father Delaney,
yes,
and I can't remember the other priest that is kind of works with him is kind of
Father
his buddy,
Bolin.
Father Bolin.
Talking about the gentleman played by Don Stroud. Don Stroud played the younger priest, and Rod Steiger played the older priest, that's an Oscar winner, man. He's been nominated a few times. I want to say he won an Oscar for In the Heat of the Night, I believe. I want to say.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I want to say he's been nominated a few times. I mean, he was even nominated, I think, in the 50s. That Brando. Oh God, what was it? It was a movie in the 50s with Brando. Oh, On the Waterfront. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Rod Steiger is a Steiger. I think it's Steiger. Yeah, man. Beast actor, veteran, three-time Oscar nominations. He's been nominated 3 times. Wow, and he won for. He did win for. In the Heat of the Night.
Nice.
Yeah. No. This movie's like. Again, I feel like it could have benefited from being a little shorter. I feel like the story, since it's so long, I feel like the story, like for a movie that's 2 hours long, there really isn't a lot of in-depth about the story. Like I don't even know, like I feel like I don't even know the whole family, which is weird for a haunted house movie with a family. It's strange. Like
it's very weird.
We get to know the daughter a little bit, but the sons, like we don't get to know them at all.
Dude,
like,
the only thing I know about them kids is that one of them got a hurt fucking hand now. That's like,
yeah.
I mean, and you're
exactly.
right.
It's kind of all over the place where and I get it. The focus of it is really James Brolin's character and the transformation that he has in this, of the demonic presence that's overtaken him. And I get that, but I feel like, for a movie that's 2 hours, you focused on that way too much. Like, I want to know, like, I don't even care about this family. Like, I really don't at the end of the day, because I don't really get to know them that well. Like, the kids, like, when you watch Conjuring, or you watch Insidious, or you watch Poltergeist, other movies that are kind of similar in the same subgenre as this, I feel like you care more because you care more about the characters and the family that's in the movie. In this, you don't really get that much. But again, this is a little different than those in the fact that it's, again, the focal point. I think the focus, I don't think, I know, the focal point is the transformation of James Brolin character George Lutz. Or is it Lutz? Yeah, George Lutz. That's the focus of this movie. Not necessarily that this family's getting tormented by these evil spirits. It's more of these evil spirits are just this demonic presence trying to take over George. That's kind of
pretty
like,
much, yeah.
you know, so it's kind of it's a little different in that aspect, and I feel like sometimes this movie's trying to be Exorcist too much sometimes, like a little bit,
yeah,
a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it's you know, I think it's one that I tell you, this is one that's definitely got an iconic. I feel like the movie itself, like the title of the movie, is more iconic than the movie is actually good.
I agree with you completely. I think this movie's it's an average. It's a slightly above average haunt movie. That I think the story it kind of reminds me of The Fog in the sense that I think the story and the mythology of the story are stronger than the actual execution of the movie.
Correct.
It's got some of the strongest points of it are the iconic house because it's got a great look to it. I like the music a lot in this movie.
Well, the score was actually nominated for an Oscar.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that's great.
It's a Lalo Schifrin, longtime composer, long time, been nominated for fucking 6 Oscars, going all the way back to 1968 for Cool Hand Luke.
Jesus.
Ironically.
Wow. Oh, he did the music for Enter the Dragon too.
Yeah, Enter the Dragon. I mean, like you look. Yeah, dude. 6-time Oscar nominated. Wow.
That's great. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because the music in this
he
is
never won.
Fantastic.
Never won an Oscar.
Oh, he's never won an Oscar though? Oh.
No, he won an honorary award at the 2019 Oscars. They gave him an lifetime achievement award. Yeah. So he's been nominated for 5 times and then got the lifetime achievement. Yeah,
but yeah,
the score is great. You're right. The score is good.
This movie is right there with like a lot of the like what I said about The Fog. I mean, I think that there's a great core here, and the story could be very strong, but where this movie is at its weakest is what you mentioned already. We don't really care much for the family as a whole. No, we really only get to know George and Kathy.
That's it. And they're great, and I want to know more about them.
Like, and they're fine. They're both.
They're interesting, and they're interesting.
Yeah, they're very, very interesting. James Brolin and Margot Kidder's fantastic.
Yeah. And Margot Kidder's character, she's super. Kathy, she's super interesting. I like her.
Yeah,
you know.
But yeah, that's pretty much. I feel like you need more than that than just. These two because there's this whole family. Like they may not even have the fucking kids. Really, I mean, except for what's the daughter's name? She's the one always. Amy, not Amy.
Yeah.
What the hell? There's Greg and Matt are the boys, and
well, you can't
it is Amy. Yeah.
You can't fucking remember because they're hardly in the fucking movie.
Yeah. And you're right. Yeah.
And again, it doesn't make it a bad movie. And your comparison to The Fog, and honestly, I think The Fog is just a much more better executed. Like I just think it's much better filmmaking in The Fog than this. Yeah, personally, across the board, everything. Not that this is like this isn't done incompetently.
No, this isn't a piece of shit by any means.
No, but by no means. I feel like I feel like there was this sounds like one of those situations where just the way the story plays out on screen, it just doesn't play. It's just not very tight. The story doesn't come together very tight. Where The Fog has that slow burn, but it kind of comes together full circle in The Fog. In this, it does kind of come full circle, but the slow burn's really just not even worth it in this because here's my thing. This movie's almost 2 hours long, and that shouldn't be when there's really not a lot going on in this movie. There's really not when you kind of think about it. It's just cutting from them in the house to maybe the father and the priest outside the house. That's really it. That's really we get a couple, as a fan of film and someone who appreciates acting, the one scene with Rod Steiger and Murray Hamilton, who was also in Jaws, the mayor in Jaws.
Yeah.
That scene they have in their the priest quarters. Really good acting. Like
that's
that was
fantastic.
Kind of like,
you're absolutely right. Yeah,
you could tell that scene was like for them to put on a show, and they do, and they do.
That's where Father Delaney is basically pleading for help.
Yes,
and they're basically telling him you just need to go on vacation.
Yes,
like,
I know.
Really? Are you fucking serious?
I know. And they're both.
This guy broke down, dude. He broke down, crying, weeping.
Yeah,
and they were just like, "I just think you need a family."
And both were both killed that scene too. Both.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Rod Steiger and Murray Hamill killed that scene. It was really fun to watch. It was honestly, it's one of my favorite moments in the movie because I got taken aback. I was like, man, it's kind of cool. You get to go back to 1979 in a horror movie like this and see that good of actors in a scene together like that. It's just cool. It's cool to see, to kind of revisit. But as a whole, I mean, like this movie deserves. I think this movie gets this movie deserves credit for maybe making this subgenre maybe a little bit more popular, because this movie made a shit ton of money. It made like $83 million on like
I think it was 86.4 is what I'm looking at,
and like just this budget just under 5, I think like 4 or 5 million,
4.7 million,
yeah. So I mean, it made a shit ton of money.
Impressive. Yeah, that's some goddamn. That's some goddamn Blumhouse numbers right there.
It was one of the hits in 1979. Yeah. It was one of it was definitely probably the biggest horror hit from 79. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but I would think another horror movie in 79 didn't outdo this at the box office, I would think. But I feel like another thing that hurts this movie too, and it's not fair to the original. It's not. But the original, while I don't dislike it, but I think it's a fine. It's fun. It's fun to watch every now and then. It's really not one that I'll be honest. It's not one that I keep in the rotation, because honestly, I get a little bored. I get a little bored with it sometimes. I feel it moves way too slow. I feel the story's not very tight. I feel like with just such a long movie that there should be more going on. There should be more about the mythology. She doesn't even realize what's completely going on with her husband until there's literally 8 minutes in the movie left, dude. you know what I'm saying? She doesn't fully grasp what's going. To me, I feel shortchanged. I feel ripped off. I feel like that's something that she should start to realize at the midway point. Or
easily, even before that, really, But you're right.
So you can get that reaction, so you can see how that's affecting her. You can see how it's affecting them. They can talk about, to me, that would lead to interesting dialogue. That would lead to interesting scenes. Literally, I when she realized, I hit stop. There was 13 minutes left. I'm just going to say the credits were 4 or 5 minutes. So literally there was 8 or 9 minutes left in this movie when Margot Kidder's character realizes what's happening to her husband.
Yeah.
And again, it's I feel like, what were we doing for an hour and a half of this movie? I feel like there could have been more involvement of the family and more.
Exactly. I was just getting ready to say, I can tell you what they weren't doing. They weren't getting us invested in the family dynamic as a whole at all. And
Definitely
that's
not.
a big problem with the movie.
Yes.
And like I said, I guess that he just wanted to focus on the two of them and that's it. But if you're going to do that, then why fucking have the kids?
I agree.
But they did it because this is based on a quote unquote true story.
True events.
True story. And that's why they did it the way they did. But it just when I watched this, I haven't seen the remake in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I almost want to say that the remake might actually at least as good as this movie.
It made me want to watch. It made me want to watch it again too.
Yeah, there might be things about the remake that could be better, because I remember the kids being involved a lot more in the remake.
Yes,
and because I remember the scene. There's a scene in the remake where George Lutz is cutting wood, and he's got that little kid with him, and he's making him hold a piece of. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Of course that does. I don't think that happens in the. No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, he cuts a lot of fucking wood in this. But yeah, it's just like there was no family dynamic to be invested in.
Sure.
And that's probably its weakest point.
Yeah. And you and I have even mentioned this before when we were talking about, it might have been the Insidious episode or Sinister. It was one of those. And because we kind of did those episodes kind of close together. And it was like, I think I had mentioned, like, that's kind of the trend in these, demonic, home haunting kind of movies, that the kids are kind of the main prey. Mm-hmm. And because they're so innocent, and it makes it more scary if the kids are in danger, you know what I mean? Because because they're kids. So the fact that they're not even real, I mean, that again, Amy the daughter is talking to the imaginary friend, well, the ghost, Jody. So, like, there's a little bit of Amy, but again, not enough. Like, nowhere near enough. I needed more. I feel like one thing this, and again, I understand it's 1979, but Star Wars came out in like 75, so I don't want to fucking hear it. The special effects in this suck. The special effects in this, they didn't care. They didn't give a shit. I don't know what. I don't want to say that, but like, they obviously didn't care enough to spend more money on the budget to make the. I mean, than to get like just little red fucking laser eyes on the screen. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, there was just a bunch of that shit too. And again, it's 79, but at the same time, I don't know. Poltergeist came out. Well,
dude, Superman was done the year before this.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's a little apples and oranges. I'm sure budgets are, like, I was just compared to Poltergeist
thing. This was an independent film.
Yeah, it was. It was an independent film. That's to be fair. But at the same time, I feel like they could have done a little better.
Probably.
I feel like they could have done a little better. I mean, like,
well, they went all ham sandwich on the sequels.
Well, see, and I was actually getting to that, and that's kind of the other thing that really, in my eyes, has always hurt. It's not fair, the original, but it's just what it is. What's always hurt the Amityville Horror franchise, or even the original, in my opinion, are that the sequels were so fucking bad.
Oh yeah, they're horrible. I don't think there's any good ones.
No,
and then there's sequels there, and there's spin-offs that just share the Amityville name.
And Bryan,
they're bad.
They pumped out these cheap direct-to-video, extremely low budget, just those. They were pumping these out till like 96. What's ironic, that Scream episode where you and I were talking about how bad the movies were in the, like, from 90 to 96. I mean, fuck, there's probably two Amityville horror movies sandwiched in there.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I just pulled up something. Just pulled up something. This is going to be fun.
Sure.
So we have the Amityville Horror.
Yes.
Okay. 3 years later, Amityville 2: The Possession came.
Yes. Which, do you know, the family, we're going to be talking about The Conjuring next week. Do you know what's the family from that, the husband wife? What's the Warrens, right?
The Warrens. Yeah, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
I guess the actual the actual real couple were consultants on Amityville 2.
Okay, because it's a prequel. It's actually a prequel.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Now we've got, and a year later, they shat out Amityville 3D.
Of course. Okay.
Then 6 years later, they shat out Amityville 4, a TV movie.
What year did that come out?
In 1989.
89.
Yeah, 1989. Okay. Then we got 1990, the Amityville Curse, direct-to-video. 1992, Amityville. It's called Amityville 1992. It's About Time. Okay, and it is literally about time, because I think it's about like a fucking
there's like a little clock
or some shit.
Yeah, there's like a little clock on the house, right? I remember the cover. Yeah, I remember the cover.
1993, Amityville: A New Generation. 1996, Amityville Dollhouse. Then they took a break for 9 years, and then they remade the Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds. So we got Deadpool and Melissa George. And then 12 years later, in 2017, Amityville The Awakening with Jennifer Jason Leigh and Bella Thorne.
What?
That one I have not seen. I have
not seen that one yet either. I have not seen that.
I haven't seen the next one. It's called The Amityville Harvest, and it's apparently came out this year or is coming out.
I believe I've only seen part 1, part 2, part 3, and the remake. I have not seen the rest of that. I was actually wrong. I said 2 shitty sequels were sandwiched in between 90 and 96. It was more like 4.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, there's 10 sequels to this movie, so there's 11 movies in this franchise.
Dude, like, how is that possible when the original is not even that great to begin with? Like, again, this original is not a terrible movie by any sense.
It's not.
I enjoyed watching it. It was all right. It was fun to watch. Is it a movie that I'm going to rewatch and revisit frequently? No, it's not.
Yeah, me neither.
I'll admit, like, this is probably technically more sound than maybe House that we just covered a couple weeks ago. But like, I find House to be a way more entertaining and fun watch.
Oh, it's that's a super fun. But you know what? I don't know. Like, the remake made a shitload of money too, and they only spent 19 mil. Yeah, they only spent 19 million on that.
Dude, this series is popular. Yeah. Dude, this series is a lot of people regard this as the best, ghost story or haunted home movie, whatever you want to call it, of all time. A lot of people put it in that regard. I don't blame them. I mean, it's like, look, you can't look past James Brolin's performance in this is fucking pretty solid, dude. He's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, James Brolin's actually fantastic, and Margot Kidder's fantastic in this.
She is too. That's what I'm saying. Like, you get 2 killer performances out of 2 at the time. Pretty big. I mean, dude, she's fresh off fucking Superman.
Yeah, honestly, she was cast because of how popular she became from Superman.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
that's
and
why.
She was such a golly.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. She was so adorable. In this movie.
She's hot in this. she's
fucking
hot. Yeah, she's beautiful. I've always been a big Margot Kidder fan.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
And this is she's really good in this too. James Brolin. But James Brolin, holy fuck. I mean, across the board, actually, probably the strongest thing about this movie is probably the actors.
I agree. And it's so funny that because, like, there was some critics that were just like, oh, Rod Steiger was overacting. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? I thought he was fantastic.
Whatever. I was like a kid in, like, I was like, it was like I was back at film school again, watching that scene between he and Murray Hamilton.
Yeah, so good.
Love that scene. I love the dialogue. They're both like just God. You could just look in their eyes. Both of those actors were so invested in that scene.
Yeah,
like, it was and you can just tell. You can't see it, but I guarantee you, all the people on set watching that are just like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" Like, for real,
crazy.
But yeah. Overall, like, I feel like you want to go through the movie a little bit.
Yeah, we'll go through the movie a little bit. We'll just pick some scenes. We'll go through it, and if some scene kind of steps out at you, we'll stop and we'll talk about it. Basically, this movie opens up with a cold open, kind of. It takes place in 1974 at like 3:15 a.m. Ronald DeFeo wakes up and murders his entire family with a shotgun in his house. Okay, and it's like a lot of people. I think he's like the oldest brother. He kills his mom, his dad, and I think he has like 4 siblings.
Yeah,
something like that. It was a lot. It was a lot of people.
Yeah.
He just takes a shotgun and he kills all of them. They're all sleeping when he does it. And a year later, so this takes place in 1975. George and Kathy Lutz they're a young married couple. She has 3 children from a previous marriage, so he's not the father of any of these kids, but he loves them very much. And they are he's a small business owner. He owns a small surveying business, and they decide they want to get a nice big house for their new family, and this is kind of like they can barely afford it, but it's like it's at a steal. And it's like $80,000 for this house, and it's
beautiful home,
fucking gorgeous,
beautiful home.
Yeah. And the property, because it comes with a boathouse, it comes with a separate house that could be a guest house that's kind of set up like he's going to set it up like his office for his surveying company, but a boathouse because it's right on the river, and the house is massive, it's big as shit. And it's got a big ass lot. So and it was only $80,000, and he mentions, he's like, dude, this house is worth like $115,000 easily. And they know what happened a year before at the house. They had already been informed of this before we even meet them, which I find kind of interesting because that would have made for a good scene. For them to be like, okay, why is this fucking house so cheap? And then the lady tell them or whatever, and then we could have seen some reaction. But instead, we just get the post reaction of them being like, well, it's unfortunate what happened here. And he says, well, homes don't have memory, and and basically we can make our own memories. Right. And I get that. But I just kind of wish that they would have shot that scene. Yeah. Finding out about that because they actually do in the remake.
Yeah, they do. And there's a lot of things, the way this story flows. I think it's just at the end of the day, the way the story flows visually on screen for me, it doesn't really come together as a very concrete, compact story. It just...
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they don't really give you a lot to the story along the way either. No. Which is weird, which is strange. Like I said, I like... To me, it would have been like, I hate to keep repeating myself, but it would have been like way more interesting for the wife, for Margot Kidder's character, to find out what's really going on with her husband, like a little sooner in the movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It would have just made for more compelling theater. Because what you're left with is, I see what's going on to you. Oh, roll credits. End of movie. I mean, like that's pretty. That's what happens essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, like at the end of the day, like I feel like this movie, it put an idea out there, like what you could do with like this type of style of movie, and I feel like people that have done movies that have been done that are of this subgenre kind of improved on this. Like even just 3 years later, Poltergeist came out in '82. I'd say Poltergeist is a much superior film to Amityville Horror.
Kidding me? Yeah, Toby Hooper and Steven Spielberg. They made the shit out of that movie.
And it's a little unfair since they're so much newer. But again, they kind of took what Amityville Horror put up on kind of like a formula to do another movie. Like I find like The Conjuring better. I find The Insidious is better. I find a lot of these better than this, but at the same time, I respect the Amityville Horror for what it's done. I mean, Amityville Horror is an iconic fucking name. When you say Amityville Horror, people know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is funny to me, but part of me feels like is it like the fact that that they made so many shitty sequels? It's just so.
It's the same thing that they did the same thing to the fucking Hellraiser franchise. You know what I mean? They just drained the fucking shit out of it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you look at it and you're like, Hellraiser is a fantastic movie. The second one starts off super fucking strong. And then at the end of the day, as a franchise, as a whole, Hellraiser franchise is a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And so is this. This is terrible. This franchise is terrible. This is easily the strongest in the franchise.
Yeah,
but it's only above average to me.
Yeah, this is the remake. This is the remake, and they're both, just like you said, above average. Like they're not. Like I don't think any installment in this franchise is great. If you're in the mood for like a good, demonic possession, demon house ghost house kind of story, and then this is a good movie to watch for that. I mean, I think this is a movie that all horror fans should watch once for sure. Right. This is just
I think this is. I do think this is necessary.
Yeah, it's a necessary
because
watch
of certain things.
And again, I feel like, and I feel like some people are going to watch this for the first time that are going to like it more than I do, and that's good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because there's plenty of people that have, since this movie was released, that likes this movie more than I do. But so they're buying this. They're kind of like, this is a big purchase for them. It's a big moment. They're buying this.
Yeah,
house.
It's like even at the deal they're getting, they're admittedly saying that this is going to be big. This is going to be a lot of money, and they're going to be strapped for a while. But they go ahead and they do it. Obviously, they move in. The first interesting thing happens shortly after Father Delaney comes in, because she calls him, she contacts him to come bless the house, because she's very, very strong in her Catholic faith. George is not a religious person, you can tell. He's just but he's supportive of her. He's not like he's not like agnostic or call he's not a dick.
I'll tell you one thing George does have though, and James Brolin too. The fucking hair in this fucking movie is point. Dude,
I will say, I wrote
James
down
Brolin's
note.
hair. Holy shit,
so
man!
Good.
I'd kill for that head of lettuce. Oh my
fuck
lord!
Yeah. But I wrote down something, and it's kind of funny because James Brolin is the scariest looking fucking guy 2 minutes into this movie, and just gets more horrifying every fucking minute.
It's true, dude. I'm telling you,
because he's super intimidating looking. That beard. Those eyes, dude. I wouldn't fuck with him ever.
No. I mean, the whole movie, it's so slow and gradual, but really the whole point of this movie is to watch the transformation.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's really. I mean, and I get it. I just
it was something to watch. That's for sure. Yeah. But yeah, Father Delaney does show up one day, and everybody's kind of outside goofing off. But he tries to go in and bless the house, and shit goes down. Literally, the house literally tells him to get out.
Yeah.
It literally whispers and then screams at him to get out. And he becomes pretty ill, like violently ill, after leaving the house. So he obviously, he knows something's wrong. He tries to call a few times, and every time he calls, there's interference in the phone line, and then he gets sick again, and he starts.
I thought that element was pretty cool. I thought that element was cool. That when he would call their home line, that there would be static, and the movie saying that the demonic presence is causing the static. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It's definitely demonic because Kathy has an aunt that's a nun, and she comes by the house, and she walks in, and she's instantly sick, pretty much. She's like, I gotta leave, I've gotta leave. And Kathy looks at George to try to ask him to be like, hey, can you make her not leave? But he's like, what the fuck you want me to do? She needs to leave. She's not feeling well, and same thing happens to her. She gets out to her car, and she gets violently ill and just throws up. So it's clear that there's this demonic presence that's I don't want anything of faith in this house, because that would obviously impede this demonic presence from its ultimate goal, which is taking over George. Because it breaks George's mental state down bit by bit by bit throughout the movie, and it's pretty cool to watch because he's a nice guy. He's a really, really nice dude, and he's a loving guy.
Yeah.
And but he turns into a fucking monster by the time this movie's almost over.
He does.
And, he's constantly cutting wood. He's swinging an axe all the time. Yeah. And he looks like with that big ass beard, he looks like Paul Bunyan. And
I don't want it to sound like that I'm totally poo-pooing this transformation and then it's terrible to watch. It's not. It's pretty compelling. Mm-hmm. But again, really the only compelling thing about this movie, really for me personally, is probably just James Brolin's performance in this transformation.
You're right. Yeah,
and that's really because honestly, that's what I feel. I get a good dose of Margot Kidder, who is great. I like her character Kathy a lot, actually. But I feel like this movie doesn't give me anything else. It just wants to keep feeding me this transformation and what's going on with this But again, it's really not even. I mean, there's some mystery to it, obviously, which plays as a cool element. But at the end of the day, if you're watching this for the first time, you already know what it probably is. Like it's some type of demonic, supernatural presence. So like, there's really no surprise. You're just kind of just watching it go down. Again, like this movie has such a fucking slow burn. It's that old school slow burn feel. And again, I'm not opposed to slow burn, but if you're gonna do a slow burn, there better be a big, huge tie-in at the end, and there better be this fucking kick-ass payoff. And I don't feel like this movie delivers that at all. I feel like this movie just delivers, hey, this is pretty compelling stuff of this dad fucking and husband getting possessed by a demonic presence.
Right.
Enjoy. This is your movie. This is
it.
His sons, his kids that are in the house that we should be worried about. Who gives a fuck about them? No one cares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't get to know enough about them to really give a damn.
No.
So,
no.
It's just,
I think what this movie slacked in, I feel like the movies that followed it kind of corrected those things.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Poltergeist did, Insidious did. There's plenty of more. I mean, Poltergeist is a prime example, and again, that was
Poltergeist is kind of the standard, really, as far as I'm on a house movie, right up there.
I mean, I would say that the Amityville Horror and Poltergeist, in no particular order, probably the two most known ghost story movies, right? Like
probably
haunted house movies, I would think. Two of the most
the
recognizable.
Changeling's a really good one too, but we're not talking about a family element. It's just basically one guy. No. It's just George C. Scott's character.
Yeah, exactly. That's a crazy movie, by the way.
We got to talk about that one of these.
That's a crazy fucking movie.
I fucking love that movie. So,
it's pretty good.
Well, let's move through a little bit more of this. There's a couple of other things that kind of happen. They go. They have this wedding. It's like Kathy's brother is getting married, and this guy, this is the worst. Because he's got to pay the caterer in cash, all right? And the caterer wants $1,500. So, okay, let me repeat that. $1,500 in 1975 for food at a wedding. What the fuck are they eating? Holy shit. That is a lot of money, bro.
Baby. That is.
Is that not that's a lot of money now.
Yeah, well, for catering, no.
I don't know. I mean, I've been married twice, people? Never had a wedding.
I mean,
time,
feed 100 people. Dude, what's 10? Let's say you can feed everyone for $10, $10 a head. What's 10 times?
So that's a grand.
10 times 100. There you go.
That's a grand.
So it's probably going to be more.
Now. So 1975, $1,500.
Yeah. Hey man!
Holy shit, that's a lot.
And can we talk about how this demonic presence fucking stole $1,500 from this brother?
Yeah, just right, exactly. It totally snakes that money. He's sitting there counting it over and over and over again, and then it just vanishes. Literally, just fucking vanishes.
Yeah,
dude, like, I just had it.
The demonic presence
of money.
Dude, the house fucking robbed this guy $1,500.
Yeah, totally punked it. But here's what we do get a really good scene because George, who's feeling the demonic presence really good right now.
Oh, he's
great because he's like, well, I'll just write the caterer a check.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, he's like, I don't like checks. Checks bounce. Blah blah blah. I like cash. And he was like, you're going to take the check, goddammit. You're going to eat your own fucking food, bitch.
And I love it, too. First, when he comes into the bathroom, he's like, James Brolin goes, something like, well, first of all, I don't like being interrogated in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that.
exactly. That's exactly.
I don't, dude. It's pretty great.
Oh man, that's fucking awesome, dude. The look on that guy, that caterer's face was just like, "Oh yes, sir."
And it's funny because that caterer really wants his fucking money, and he really doesn't want to take a check, but he doesn't really want to fuck with James Brolin.
No,
George.
You want?
He doesn't want to fuck with George at all. Oh,
no, you don't want to fuck with George Lutz. Dude, he looked mean. Like I was like, yeah, I'll take the check. In fact, you can make it out for less if you'd like, sir.
You won't like him when he's angry. Yeah, the transformation is in full swing, man.
Yeah,
it's in full swing.
Well, he gets home and he loses his mind looking for the screen. Where the hell is it? And then the poor babysitter got locked in the closet at this while this whole shit was going down too.
I know.
And her headgear, I felt so bad for this poor girl. Because not only is she trapped in the closet, beating on the door to try and get out, her knuckles are bleeding and everything. She's beating so hard trying to get out, and she's got this damn headgear. Like, this girl's just not having a good life right now. Oh man, this poor thing. But they're like, the closet locked me in, and he's like, there's no lock on this. So real quick. So now she feels like a fucking idiot. Oh man, this poor kid, that poor baby.
I know.
She got done dirty. She got done dirty in this movie, bro.
She did. She really did.
This is shortly after this is when the window slams down on one of the boys. Couldn't tell you which one because I don't know shit about these kids.
Nope.
But it does, like, it's actually a pretty good moment.
It is
because they're fucking with the little girl. They're fucking with their baby sister. They got like a fishing pole with a little plastic spider on the end, and they're dropping it out the window and like landing it on her head and shit and fucking with her. And mom comes in like, "What are you guys doing?" And the dude turns and he's still got his hand in the window, and that fucking window just slams down on his hand.
Oh, it slams hard.
It slams super hard. Upon hitting his hand, it's instantly
blood splatter.
Blam! I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, we got blood splatter from a window slamming on a hand.
That was good shit. That was pretty good shit. Because this happens when George's business partner shows up.
Right.
Telling him, "Hey man, we got some caterer bitching about a $1,500 check." So this poor caterer, not only did he get punked out, he got punked out into accepting a check that he was worried was going to bounce, and then the bitch bounces. That's so good. That's fucking next level trolling right there.
It is. It's pretty great.
You're gonna take a check and you're gonna like it, and then you're gonna walk away. He's like, "Hey, this is gonna bounce." So, but yeah, they because his partner comes up to help him get the damn window off this kid, and yeah, the blood splatter instantly. I was like, "Holy shit, that's called slamming the fuck out of a window, man." There's some other kind of strange shit that happens, like, Kathy sees some eyes, like glowing eyes out of the daughter's bedroom window and shit.
Yeah, looks terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty, but there's the moment because his business.
One thing I didn't mention yet that I do like, I really like the dog in this a lot, actually.
Oh, the dog is the best character in this movie. The dog's a hero.
The dog gets more character development in this movie than the kids.
100%. The dog's name is Harry. I know the dog's name.
And fuck them. If you own a dog, I hate that they have him chained to the front porch. Like, if you have a dog, let him in your house, or don't have a dog, or have a fenced-in yard. Yeah. What is wrong with
kind of weird. Yeah, I don't like that. Because I got 2 big-ass pit bulls that take over my whole fucking house. Yeah, I don't chain them up.
Yeah, I get it. Your yard isn't fenced. If your yard's not fenced, guess what? Take your dogs inside, like a fucking
put your dog inside,
like a humane human being, for fuck's sake.
Anyway. And he's a good fucking dog too, man.
He's a great dog.
He's a hero. He's a goddamn hero.
He is.
George's partner is unexplainably sensitive to this supernatural stuff. Did you notice that? Because they don't mention, like, you know, she just shows up and she just knows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she knows.
And that's another thing about this movie, that it's weak, because it's just like, oh, George's partner just happens to be kind of a medium.
Yeah, and she really doesn't add anything to the story or plot.
No, not really. Because, like, she's like, when they first show up, she waits in the car. And then she ends up coming in the house at a point later. And that's when she's like, she can feel something coming from the basement wall. And the dog's been scratching at this wall. Like, so much that the dog his paws are actually bleeding.
I know.
And his partner, his business partner's got like pulls the dog away, and he's got like a rag, and he's cleaning the dog up and stuff. And she's like, she grabs a pickaxe and just starts swinging at a wall in the basement.
Yep.
And George walks down, and he takes it a lot better than I would have. He's like, oh, what's going on down here?
I know.
I mean, like, I would have been like, bitch, what are you doing in my house? You know, I had lost my mind. But he walks down, he's just like, he just investigates, and he's like, oh, I can feel a draft. So he starts beating the shit out of the wall too. And that's when we get, it's this, I don't care for this part. I wish I did, but I don't care for this part. And it's probably because of who it's probably because of who is explaining it. And because I don't like the fact that they just throw this woman in who just happens to be a media. It just didn't make sense.
Again, it feels like, I feel like it's one of those, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the screenwriter and the person who wrote the book, because I'm pretty sure the person who wrote the book had a little bit of control on this. I don't know how much. Probably not a lot. Then you got the director. I don't know. It just feels like everyone wasn't on the same page with visually presenting this movie on the screen from the page. I just feel like the people, there's some kind of disconnect here. There's stuff. I feel like there's stuff. Like, you're right, dude. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, everything. The story as a whole for a 2-hour movie is not very tight and compact. And what I mean by that is it's kind of loose and kind of just all over the place and whatever. Yeah. Like this character that just shows up out of nowhere.
Carolyn's her name, and she just shows up. She just happens to be his partner's wife, his business partner's wife, and she's like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm a medium, you know, and the reason I am is because, the screenplay required it, and exposition or some shit, you know what I mean? Like, it just felt tacked on." Yeah,
and all I can think is all the movies that followed you just improved on this. Whether that's
right, a better movie would have been, hey, they discover this room underneath the stairs somehow. And a better movie would have been like, oh, hey, they discovered this. Let's call somebody to check this out. Whether it be an expert, because, hey, we've been having some weird shit happening here. Let's call a medium. No, this movie instead takes the approach that, hey, this woman just happened to be kind of in the house and just happened to be a medium. And, it's just, I don't like that. It's lazy.
Well, it's super lazy. That's the problem. It's super lazy. I mean, if you look back at all these other movies that we're talking about, they all had really good characters who played this medium. Like, whether you go back to Poltergeist. I mean, hello.
Oh yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Elise in the Insidious films, played by what's her? I love her. She's such a good actress, but she's really good in that too.
Was of her name.
Well, it's what's his the owner of
Lin Shaye. Jesus Christ,
yeah, Lin Shaye. Like, she's great as that character. One of the best things. You go to the Conjurings, the Warrens are great. This movie just, I feel like I'm sure the filmmakers, I wonder after they watch this in the final product, they're like, man, we should have done this different or done that different. Because all I can tell you is movies that have followed for decades that have kind of used this formula that Amityville Horror kind of put up on a pedestal to use. They really improved on it.
Oh yeah,
really,
100%. Yeah,
and this is just another prime example. And again, it's just not very compact and concrete. The story, it's not. It's hard for me to follow. It's hard for me to stay engaged. I can like when you keep going back to George, James Brolin's character. When you keep cutting back to him and his transformation, yes, it's engaging. But then you leave me to go to Margot Kidder carrying in groceries, or or just shit like that, or James Brolin and his business partner talking somewhere else that's not in this house. Like it's just shit like that. It's just movies just all over the place in that aspect.
It is.
It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what, because I'm no expert, but I can just tell you the thing that doesn't work for me in this movie the most is the very loose story and lack thereof.
Yeah, it's told really. Yeah, the story is not told well. It's also not built well, and it's pretty lazy. It is. You know, and like I said, it sounds like we're talking mad shit about it because those are important things. But the things that are strong in it do at least lift it to a watchable level, where it is an above average story. Because we already mentioned how fantastic James Brolin, Margot Kidder, and Rod Steiger are. And they are basically our three main players.
Right.
So, thankfully, they were in there carrying this thing on their shoulders to a watchable level. So,
without James Brolin, without James Brolin's performance, this movie's terrible.
Oh, it's horrible.
This movie's awful. I mean, that's just a fact. Yeah. I mean, he literally saved the movie because it's a subpar story, and it's told visually on screen just in a very subpar way. It bugs me, and I've noticed this before. It's not like this is like a revelation on this watch through. I've always felt this way about the Amityville Horror.
Yeah, I think this movie's a little overrated. Yeah.
I've always said that I go, yeah, Amityville Horror is a little overrated. Like, I don't consider, like, I think when some people think of this movie, they think of like, oh, one of the best horror movies from the 70s. This wouldn't even crack my top 5 of 70s horror movies.
No.
It might not even crack my top 10. It probably wouldn't even crack my top 10 of favorite 70s horror movies. Like, I've always felt that this movie is a little overrated. I feel like this movie, like, again, I feel like the movie's title and the impact it had, because it did have a big impact. I mean, it made $83 million in 1979. That's a shit ton of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
I mean, I guess at the time it was one of the most successful independent films of all time.
Yeah.
It was. So, I mean, like, with that being said, like, I'm not here to like tear down the Amityville Horror, but at the same time, I feel like I gotta be real and honest with my takes and opinions, because I feel like if I just catered to like, oh, a lot of people like this movie, so I better like it. No, that's not how this works. That's not how this works, y'all.
Nope.
At the end of the day, Amityville Horror, in my opinion, I've always felt this way. I find it to be quite underrated. I feel like a lot of movies that picked up from what it laid down improved on it substantially, right. And for decades to come. Like, you're talking just from 3 years after this movie was released for Poltergeist to fucking 30 some years later, when 35 years later when fucking or 30 some years later when 35 years later when Conjuring was released, so it's like it's not like it was like a movie or two. It's been pretty much everything that's been kind of done since, just in my opinion, executed better.
Yeah, you're 100% right too. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny you brought up the remake, because as soon as I got done watching this, I was like, man, I gotta watch the remake soon.
Yeah,
because I want to see how on par with the original it actually is. Like, I actually might enjoy it better.
I know it's been a while since I've watched it. Bailey actually wanted to weigh in on that. Because he really likes the remake a lot.
Sure.
So if he said if we ever do a discussion on the remake, he would love to join us. And I figured that would probably be perfectly fine.
You know what's fun? I've seen the remake once when it came out, and I have not watched it since.
I've seen it a couple of times. It's on Prime.
Is it?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was. It was not too long ago, unless it's left now.
Oh.
But I might watch it tonight. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of thinking. He's like, you know what? I kind of want to watch that. Just to see. But let's go ahead and wrap this story up real quick because we're pretty much at the end.
He finds the well of tar.
Yeah. It's like it's just a room at this point. Because it hasn't quite turned into now. Now there was a couple of things I did kind of gloss over. Kathy has been, George has been getting up at 3:15 in the morning. Every morning, essentially, just waking up at 3:15. Kathy does notice it a few times, and she also has like dreams. Like she woke up screaming, "They shot her in the head," and then just went right back to bed. So she's kind of getting she's having dreams about the thing too. So it is affecting her as well.
Yeah, I like the crossover dream kind of flashback dream kind of stuff. I kind of honestly, I felt like it needed more of it. Like when she says she shot her in the head, they don't show it.
No, she was shot in the head. That's it.
It doesn't show any flashback there. Like I feel like
I wish it did.
Yeah, like why is there not a flashback right there when she wakes up? I don't know. It was
she starts doing she finally starts doing some sort of investigative work to find out exactly what's going on in the house. Now, I say finally, they haven't even been in this house for a month. So the movie's long, but it takes place over a very short period of time.
19 days, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I think on the 19th day is when they leave. I think it's either the 19th or the 20th night or some shit like that. I should have wrote that down.
I believe that's what it is.
But she goes to the library. She reads up on the house, finds out that the house was possibly built on top of a Shinnecock burial ground, and that a known satanic worshiper had once lived on the land. But the big news, and I say that's not big shit, but the big shit is that she sees a picture of the murderer, Ronald DeFeo, the guy that killed his entire family, and it's fucking George. It looks just like George.
It's him.
Yeah, to the point that the investigating detective that was part of the DeFeo murder case actually ends up coming to the house because they have what they think is a break-in. Just the ghost just fucking kicked the door in. He shows up and he sees George and he's looking at him like, holy shit. And he actually asks him, like, are you guys related to the family that lived here before? And they're just like, no, not them at all. And he's like, holy shit, because he starts to say, because you look just like him, but he doesn't actually finish it. You can see that he's thinking that. And so this is when finally on the last night, shit gets bad enough that they finally are like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And because George is cutting, he's got an axe and the kids have locked themselves in the room. They're scared of him. He's cutting the fucking door down. That's not scary or anything, right?
No.
And it's not clear if he's cutting the door down to get to them to kill them, but it's like Kathy thinks that she is, so she actually jumps on him and she's trying to get him. I mean, he turns around and he slams that axe into the fucking floor next to her head, but quickly grabs her and he's like, oh god, I didn't know that was you, and he holds her and stuff, and
he comes to essentially.
And he's he comes to, it's he finally snaps out of it, and that's another thing that I actually don't really like. How come he just snapped out of it? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. This demonic presence, man, it has him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just lets him go.
Must not be that. Yeah,
it must not be strong. It must be a weak ass fucking demon, man. You step your demon game up, son. But but they get the kids out, and they get into the van. They start driving away, and they get like a block away, and George just stops the van, and he heads back to the house because he needs to get the dog. Because he's a good person, George. God damn it. Dogs are people too. And this is when he falls through the staircase leading downstairs. And like the staircase, by the way, is bleeding.
Yes.
Like there's blood coming from the walls and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's ooze. Cool. It is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
But he falls through the staircase and falls into that room and falls through the floor of that room into this like tar substance, right? It's like it's like an oily tar substance.
Yeah.
I can't tell what color it is because it's old, and I'm colorblind bastard anyway. I don't know if it was red. Black. It's black. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dog sees him crawling out and starts attacking him.
I know.
Harry's trying to get a piece of that. But here Harry realizes it's George quickly, and Harry pulls George out.
I know.
Harry's the fucking hero of the movie. Harry's the best dog ever to dog. So he George is, and it's like because you see elements of George, like he's a good person, man. Like, cause he gets out, he takes his shirt off because he's like covered, and and he pulls his shirt off and stuff. He picks up the dog and carries Harry over the hole in the staircase and shit. Yep. And then he didn't want to leave his dog, so he ends up picking up the dog and they run to the fucking van. And that's pretty much that is exactly where the movie ends. It says that George and Kathy Lutz never returned to the home, never collected their belongings, and they just left it. Now that is true. That is all true. Like the elements of this story are true. Like and there was actually a documentary called My Amityville Horror. I watched it once a long time ago. I should have
never
watched
seen it.
You never watched it? It's not bad. It's actually all right, and it's Daniel Lutz is one of the surviving children, and he basically produced and he's kind of stars in this documentary, and but the thing is like over the course of all these years, like because I think even Ed and Lorraine Warren came out to investigate this house.
They did.
And I don't think anything paranormal was even fucking found.
Yeah, there's been of the Lutz, like the husband and wife that this is based off, that George and Kathy played. There's been a lot of conflicting over the years. I even think James Brolin and James Brolin, I guess became friends with this George Lutz, like became friends with him, but he even says that he doesn't believe half the things that he told him.
Right. Yeah.
So I find that kind of interesting. It sounds like that husband and wife, they were always trying to get the book made, and they were always trying to get this movie made. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not saying that was the driving force, but that is a fact. They wanted to really badly get this movie made, like badly. Yeah, it's an interesting, like, I don't know. Who knows if it happened? It's kind of weird how this movie did kind of like what this movie was born from. It's technically
very strange.
Supposed true story, supposed true story, so on and so forth. Yeah, Amityville Horror, 1970.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, and you pretty much nailed it. It's kind of weird. The murky history that this movie was built off of. Maybe hey, you know what? It makes sense then because the storytelling in this is murky anyway. So I guess it suits.
And I'm sure they changed a couple, whether the rewrites or the screenwriter themselves changed this, director might change that. You never know. Who knows what goes on from the original script to the actual
That's very
final
true.
shot product. But it just does seem that like again, I'm not by any means I'm not trying to tear down the Amityville Horror. I respect for what it is. I respect it because it does have a big name in horror. It does. It's very recognizable. It's known as being one of the, better when you think of haunted house movies and demonic, possession haunted house films. This is one of the first one that comes to mind for most people. Yeah. You don't even have to be a horror fan. I mean, this movie, again, it made $83 million at the box office. I'm going to guess some of those people who went and saw this weren't even really horror fans, and I like that. Yeah. I like that. And same thing. Not a lot of horror films can pull that off. Exorcist did. To pull off where you get non-horror fans to come see your movie because they have to.
Well, they cast. James Rowland was huge.
Yes, and Margot
Kidder. She was fresh off a huge hit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Lois Lane, dude.
Yeah, they had two fantastic actors.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they were big names. They were big draws. That's probably a big part of that budget, or that budget, but that box office is probably.
I'm sure it helped. Oh yeah. I'm sure it helped, and this is another one of those movies that I'm sure was a water cooler movie, around the buzz. It had some buzz, and rightfully so. It's interesting because there really hasn't. I mean, I should know this question, but really before this, what were some? I mean, what were some you got some older ones, but even from the 70s, what's something that was similar to this?
Golly, I don't know. Cool haunted house movie. Yes.
But
haunted house movie.
It's it's one of those. Yeah, I do admit though I've always felt that this movie is a bit overrated. I do. It's not as good as I've heard some people try to make it out to be. But again, that's their opinion. They a lot of people really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, there's people that put this movie straight up on a pedestal.
They do,
and that's fine. Because there is some good stuff is some good stuff in this movie for sure. And sure. I feel like we've mentioned a lot of the good. But yeah, as far as 70s haunted house movies, there's The Legend of Hell House, Burnt Offering, another one. A lot of these are Hammer films. There's The House That Dripped Blood. That was kind of a Hammer horror movie.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, there's some, but I think that those are. I don't know. I don't think I've seen hardly any of those.
So there wasn't there definitely wasn't a lot of mainstream movies like this.
No, this was very much more mainstream.
Yes, for sure. So I mean, it gets credit in that. I mean, 3 years later, they made Spielberg and Tobe Hooper made a shit ton of money off Poltergeist. So
yeah, they did.
And again, that's it's just an example where you take to me, Poltergeist is American is Amityville Horror just extremely elevated. Not only from an entertainment standpoint, but even from a filmmaking standpoint. As well. It goes on and on. I'm gonna watch The Conjuring this week, and I know I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna go, man, that's just so much better than Amityville Horror.
Probably.
It's just it is what it is. I mean, it's just I'm not trying. I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just Amityville Horror is just a movie that I've always just thought it's okay. It's not a movie that I watch a lot. It's not a movie I've ever been oh God, I really like that movie. It's pretty good. It's all right. Actually, I'll grade this bitch right now if you're ready for it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Amityville Horror 2 out of 4 stakes through the heart.
Okay.
2 out of 4. I was tempted to give it a 2.5. I couldn't go no more than 2.5. But honestly, I gotta stay fair. I just think Poltergeist and Conjuring are two similar movies from this subgenre, right? Mm-hmm. And I just think they're just substantially better films across the board.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Across the board. So with that being said, I think there's that big of a gap, I just, like those are like 3.5s and 4s. Yeah, this is probably like a 2 for me. This is pretty low. I'm sure a lot of people didn't think I was going to give that low of a grade, but I'm going to stick to my guns. I was set on giving it a 2.5, but after talking about it more, I've changed my grade to a 2.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
This movie, it kind of frustrates me a little bit. Like I get frustrated with this movie when I'm watching it. I do. I get a little frustrated, and I don't like that when I get. If I'm getting frustrated with a movie, something's not right.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
That's funny. I'm actually going to slide in right above you at your old grade at 2.5. I think a 2 for me feels like an average movie, and I think this is just a shade above average. It's a little above average, so I'm going to give it. I think this movie is half bump.
I think this movie's very average. Okay, but it has 2 powerhouse performances. That elevate it.
Yep.
But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2.5 steaks through James Brolin's beautiful mane of beautiful
that
mane,
hair.
Burly bearded heart.
That hair, though.
I think I agree with you on a lot of that. On a lot of what you said, I really do. The disappointments in this movie are they sting to a degree that it was a huge missed opportunity to tell a very compelling family driven haunt story that and when you do see those missed opportunities, it makes me want to fucking just punch a baby.
I'm telling you,
it's frustrating as hell.
You still what?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I still feel like the performances from Margot Kidder and James Brolin, they're so good. They lift it to just above average for me. So.
Yeah. They lift it to average for me.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like honestly, easy fixes that, in my opinion, that should have been done different with this movie. Give me more character development of the family. Make me care about the family more. Not just the husband and wife, the kids too. Kids are so critical in horror movies like this. I mean, my God, they're so critical. I mean, if you look at every horror movie like this now, it seems like every single one, the demons or the spirits trying to possess the child. It's like the child, it just makes it that much more terrifying. So that's number one. Character development of the kids and the family. 2, this movie needed to be tighter, and by that mean the story needed to be tighter and the runtime needed to be tighter. I think this movie could have done a lot of good having like a 12 to 15 minute less runtime. Like if this movie was an hour and 41 minutes, an hour and 42 minutes compared to an hour and 57, I think that would have made a big difference. I know it doesn't. I know when I say that, some people go, "Why would that make a difference?" Trust me, it might have. It could have.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what you add and take away from a movie can make the difference of an entire.
So
movie.
much happens in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I know.
For real. So much happened.
I feel like at least 12 minutes of this movie could have been cut down. And like I said, I found that funny when I was reading that the German version was cut down by like 12, 13 minutes. I found that funny. But yeah, I mean, 2 out of 4. It's a fine score. That's a fine
score, yeah.
If I hated it, I'd give it a 1. But I don't hate it. I don't like this movie. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. I don't really dislike it either. I'm very neutral in this movie. It's like,
right, yeah.
It's Amityville Horror. Cool.
Yeah, it's Amityville Horror.
And I do give it props, and it should be respected, but within the genre, without a doubt. I'm definitely, and it should be watched by every horror fan at least once.
Right,
sure.
I agree. All right, guys, it's time to turn it over to you. Why don't you guys let us know what you think of the Amityville Horror from 1979? And hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook. You guys have been awesome. Thanks so much for the support. As usual, we absolutely love it if you guys hit up the Apple podcast place and maybe leave us a 5-star rating, maybe write a review, or just leave us an honest star rating. There you go. I'll ask for that. But yeah, you guys have been awesome. Don't forget, homework next week is The Conjuring. And it's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately. I'm really excited to talk about that. I've been wanting to talk about a movie from the Conjuring universe And
I'm excited to talk about not only from the Conjuring universe, but I get jacked up to talk about a James Wan film.
Fuck yeah, dude, I love James Wan movies.
That's my dude.
Yeah.
This will be the second James Wan film we've discussed.
Yeah, excited. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And you got anything you want to add before we dip out of here, buddy?
No, everything you said. Thanks. Shout out to everyone. Thanks to everyone for all the well wishes too, whether that's through social media and Twitter and Facebook and just private messages. Everyone listening, thanks to all that reached out, and thanks to all that wished me all the best health wishes. I appreciate it. If I didn't get back to everyone, I just know thank you. It means a ton. And also thanks again to Bailey for covering for me last week, and thanks to my awesome co-host Bryan for pulling my slack and pulling the weight last couple of weeks. We'll hopefully be we're getting back to normal here soon, and thank you guys again for all the well wishes. It's appreciated.
Absolutely. All right, guys. With that being said, we'll catch y'all on the next episode.